Welcome back to the Leeds Lens. You know, when you do a channel like this, these are the videos you just don't enjoy. But this is going to be sort of talking, obviously, over Leeds United's defeat against Fulham in the 94th minute from, of all things, from a corner in the 94th minute that misses everybody, but happens to hit Gudmundsson in the head and then fly into our own net. Is it luck? Is it luck on Fulham's end? Is it poor from Gudmundsson? I think there's questions either way. But frustrating on Leeds United's end, beyond belief. Oh, I'm so... I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. Frustrated's wrong. I'm gutted is the better word of putting it, because I just think that we put so much into the game. I thought the way we set up, I understood. I like the way we sort of compact. And on another day, like I look at the sort of Sunderland score, they draw 0-0 today, and they've conceded 1.6 XG. We've conceded 0.7. They've done nothing Fulham all game. Yes, we haven't had our moments. We had our moment with Longstaff, but for the most part, we didn't do much with the ball. And I think we can talk, obviously, when we get further into this video, about the fact that with the ball, we're struggling to break teams down at the moment. But in the same breath, like, they didn't offer anything. So, like, would Fulham fans slag off their attacking players? They probably would. I think, obviously, Kevin looked really sharp for them when he came on. I think probably changed the game on the left-hand side, and thank God he wasn't playing earlier. And obviously, the corner they get comes from a sort of a world-class save from Darlow that obviously ends up going in the goal. But so frustrating, because actually you come out there with a point, then it'd been 3 clean sheets in 4. And actually, you're looking at it going, this is all right. This is all right. Yes, we're struggling to score goals, but the way we set up is probably playing a factor in that, in terms of, because we're playing a more sort of a style that's a bit more... because we're playing a style that's a bit more sort of passive in terms of the way we play, I think, and sort of more defensively disciplined. I think naturally that is going to come with the cons of, obviously, the lack of creation that it might sort of happen. But in the same breath, I thought we were worth a point in the game. I really did think we were worth a point. I don't think they were worth a win at all. I don't think we probably deserved the win, if I'm being totally honest. But I think a 0-0 draw was the game. There was nothing in it for either side, and it obviously ends with a Gudmundsson sort of mistake or fail or whatever you want to call it. It ends with a Gudmundsson sort of header in the last minute that goes in. But it's so frustrating, because I'm not of the opinion really that Leeds United are going to finish mid-table this year. And I know this is probably maybe not the time to talk about it, but that's not sort of where I'm at with it. I think we're probably going to be scrapping for our lives, and every point because of that is going to be so important for Leeds United this season. And when you put in a game and you get to the 95th minute, you've got to get it over the line and get a draw, and get out there with a draw. You've got to do that, because, as I said, for me, every single point is going to be so important. And actually, to go there I know we've talked about Fulham obviously struggling to beat the bottom teams, and I think we saw that again today. What I actually said in my preview show, I think, was bang on the money. I think that we did stop them in the midfield. I think we did. Prohibit what they had going forward, and I think when we put the onus on them, they couldn't break us down. But we just didn't. We just didn't have enough going forward to score a goal like I maybe expected that we would do. But yeah, to lose it like that, so frustrating. Mark says, gutting that, mate. The subs were too negative, I felt, and invited the Fulham on. I didn't mind doing that, though. As I said this in my preview, I didn't mind giving Fulham the onus to try beat us, because I actually thought with Dan James on late on in the game, I thought the pace that he could have offered, obviously, and he's got injured now, but the pace that he could have offered in behind actually would have worked. And I think actually, if you haven't got creators, you've got to find a way of creating a chance, and sometimes soaking up pressure and hitting teams in transition is a really good way to create without actually having the sort of creative geniuses in the game. So I actually didn't hate the subs. I think I was more questioning the starting 11, because he did start, obviously, as you can see on my whichever side it'll be, the team sheet on the, you can obviously see that Aronson was starting on the right, and that's one that I'd question more, although I didn't think Aronson did too wrong. Farke will have to learn the Premier League that you can't just 20 yards to see out results. You can't just 20 yards. You can't just see out results. Yeah, well, I don't know about that, though, because I don't know. Like, I can't blame Farke for that. Like, people that start blaming Farke for that, I think it's madness. Like, does Farke sell to Gudmundsson to knock it? Like, Farke set us up to go get a draw there. That is what he's set up for. I don't mind that. I think going getting to Fulham and getting a draw is a fine result. I don't mind that, because you can get it with the moments of brilliance. Like, Longstaff nearly scores in the first half. He scores there. And we could be walking away. We could have been walking away with 3 points. So I don't hate the game plan. And as I said, we weren't set up naively. Like, we've talked a lot about Farke. Is he going to be able to adapt in games and set up in a way that's going to be naive and end up conceding too many goals. That isn't going to be the case. We're going to be, look, we're not great to watch, if we're being totally honest, but we are going to set up in a way, in my opinion, that's going to be sturdy, and we're not going to concede many goals, and that's what we did again today. As I said, we were completely justified in getting a point out of that game for sure. Yes, Kevin came on and made an impact for them on the left hand side. Of course he did, but we're playing a decent team in Fulham. Like, they're not going to have no chances all game. And as I said, they didn't really have a big chance, in my opinion. Like, as I said, Kevin came on and did something on the left-hand side for them. They didn't have loads of chances. The only major chance I can really remember was obviously Muniz, and that was like a header down that he obviously did. But I don't think it was. I don't think it was like an awful sort of defensive performance from Leeds United at all. I thought we were really strong actually defensively, and I thought, as I said, I think it's really something to build on. But yeah, as I said. If the way that game was going to be turned, and I think when I look at sort of Leeds United, because we need to look at not just this game, but what is this going to represent going forward. And I think with what I'm seeing from this Leeds United team, in my opinion, at the moment, we are going to be a team that is going to be sturdy, hard to beat, and it's going to depend on moments. Can we score in a moment going forward, or are they going to score in a moment going backwards? And that could be either like a worldie. Or it could be a defensive slip up, or like some luck, which you could argue either of them were today, really, with the way it was decided. Like I said to my brother in the 70th minute, we're not going to concede a goal here from Fulham massively breaking us down. It's going to be a mistake if it comes to it. And could you argue it was a mistake, or could you argue it was whatever it was? It was a moment, wasn't it, in the last minute? But in the same breath, as I said, we created moments ourselves, I thought, in the first half at times. Not loads, but Calvert-Lewin had a header. I think he might have been offside, actually. But Longstaff obviously hit the bar. I think, as I said, we did have our moments ourselves. And another day, there was nothing in the game either way. On another day, we score with the Longstaff goal. On another day, they score with they score in the way that they did, and it went that way. So we just got, as I said, we've just got to keep. In my opinion, when we're playing away from home in the Premier League, it's hard. It's really hard, and we've got to stick to this philosophy of being solid at the back, playing three in midfield, and being hard to beat. Because if you're hard to beat, you can nick a game. Like, you can then win a game in a game that you shouldn't expect to win. And I think we've got a defensive structure, in my opinion, that I can see working. Like, we're just as shy off getting 3 clean sheets in our first 4 games, which is a fantastic record for a really promoted team. The amount of times we've seen Sean Dyche teams or David Moyes teams in the past get points in when they're not expecting it away from home. And I think that's what we can do. And as I said, it actually reminded me a bit, to be honest, of the Arsenal-Liverpool game this season. That game today did remind me of that, where sort of we were Arsenal in that situation, where they set up a bit more defensively against a team that were arguably better than them. They played well for the minute, and then and then a moment happens late on in the game and they lose it. But in the same way, in the Arsenal game, obviously they could have nicked it. And in the same way, in the Leeds game, they could have nicked it. I do think, though, if we're looking, and obviously we can talk about the positives of the defence, and I think that is a huge positive, and I'm going to talk more about that probably. But in terms of, I think there is negatives. Like, I think we don't look like we're going to score a goal. Like, that is and this has been my issue for Leeds United and people have said to me, oh, it's because they were playing really good defensive teams, and this and that. We're not going to score goals because we don't create chances. That is the truth of it, because we don't have the attacking players. I think if we'd have bought Kevin, for example, and we had him on the left wing, rather than, I think Okafor actually did okay, and we'll get on to sort of each individual player rating later. But if we had Kevin on the right and Okafor on the left, I think you've got a unit then that could actually go on and win games like the game today. But I think without them players, and when you're relying on Aronson, who, if we're being honest, he did okay, but he just runs around. Like, he didn't ever provide any creativity in the game for us. Like, I think that is a problem for Leeds. I think that will continue to be a problem. I think the creation is going to be our biggest weakness. As I said, I have no doubt we're going to be competitive in games, and I've got no doubt, I think we are going to pick up points in games. I do think that probably the Arsenal game is a sort of one-off. I don't see us getting trashed like that. I think we've seen in the other 3 games that we're not going to. But it's just about picking up points in. Like that game today, for example, was no different to the Newcastle game, in my opinion. The only difference was they managed to get a late goal from a knock off Gudmundsson. That is the only difference. The only slight, as I said, the only slight problem I've got is that if you are playing like that, you've got to sort of make sure you get it over the line. Richie says, so unlucky today. played well. DCL looked like it looked to make the runs in behind. Aronson worked hard, but needs to work on the overlapping and definitely his passing. Yeah, I know. Aronson's just not. I think Aronson, to be honest, and I don't want to slay him off too bad because I don't think he was truly awful today, but he's just not a good enough footballer for the Premier League. Like, he just isn't technically good enough. Like, there was a pass he made in the second half. I don't even remember it, Richie, but he knocks the ball out and to try to get Okafor in on the sort of on the left hand side, and like, it was obvious to anybody watching at that point in time that if he played that pass, Tete was obviously going to intercept it. It was never on. And I'm like, and when he plays, I'm just thinking anyone with a brain in that point doesn't play that pass because it's just never on. And I think that sums up Aronson. Does well, beats a few men, sort of not massively beats them, but comes inside with it, does quite nicely, and then pays a pass that was never on. And I think that is Brendan Aronson for you, in truth. I think that's what he is. Like, it was, as I said. And I do think I think we were sloppy again, to be honest. Yeah, just passed it straight to them. Yeah, I did. And I think we were a bit sloppy in the final third in general, to be honest. Like, I thought even our fullbacks, surprisingly, I know obviously Gudmundsson made an error at the end, but even on the ball, I don't think Bogle had his best game. I think defensively it looked absolutely fine. And I've said this, I don't think there was a big thing when he came to Leeds. I think it was sort of sparked from the Sheffield United fans being frustrated that we'd obviously bought him off them. But there was this argument that he was like really bad defensively. I've never seen it with Bogle. I don't think he is bad defensively at all. I think this is a non-narrative and a non-starter at all. But I did actually think on the ball, Bogle actually didn't have his best game today. Like, I thought there was a couple of times when he just dribbled it out of play or miscontrolled it into touch. And when we don't have possession that often, you just can't afford to do that. So, yeah. In terms of Farke, if we want to talk about him, I think that his subs, I know Mark's obviously criticised his subs, and I get why, but I don't know what. I'd be interested to know what people would have done differently to sort of put more emphasis in the game. Maybe bring on Nonto for one in the midfield three. But I thought, as I said, I understood what we're doing in the midfield because it was working. We were stifling any momentum they had. And Marco Silva was playing pop before the game started. BMG says, agree with your summary. Thought Rodon could have made the header. Didn't seem to go for it, and Gudmundsson was caught by surprise. Yeah, I think you're right. I think with the Gudmundsson situation, I think that he just, like, we sort of look at it and go, what is he doing? But he's just like, he's expecting it to be headed. And I know he should obviously predict that it's not going to sort of play it in. But we've all been there. Like, you just expect it's going to be headed away, and then it doesn't do, and you're like, crap, and it just hits you and goes in. And then that ended up changing the game. But I think part of the reason Rodon left it is because he knew it was it should be then cleared by someone at the back post. But again, you are right. That definitely could have been avoided by a header away. But as I said, it was gonna come from a mistake. And that is going to be a situation. The best example I can give Leeds United of how we've played and how I think we're going to play for the rest of the season, if you want a bit of a blueprint, is the Norwich away game in the playoffs. This is the only time we played like this in the Championship. The Norwich away game in the Championship, in the playoffs final, in the playoff semi-final, we drew the game 0-0, but we set up with a midfield three and we basically stifled them in the midfield. And obviously we actually had more of the momentum going into the end of the game just because based on game state. But actually, as I said, they were in that particular game. That's what we did. We played Archie Gray in midfield. I think Ampadu played in midfield, potentially with Kamara as a midfield three. Or was it Gruev? Ampadu might have been injured, so it might have been Ampadu was at the back, so it was Gruev, Kamara, and Gray in the midfield three, and we sort of stifled them then. And I think that game plan was come up with what Daniel Farke was then going to do in the Premier League, and now you're seeing it implemented in the Premier League, and it is going to be a sort of disciplined midfield three. And then you're hoping that one of your front men can score a goal, or someone running from the midfield, like Longstaff nearly did in the first half, can get a goal and then hopefully get out there with a 1-0. But I must admit, like, I don't hate this style of play because the worst way if you want to find a way to get relegated, look at the teams who concede the most goals. They go down. If you don't concede goals, Everton have stayed up, I think, before, where they've scored something like 34 goals in a season. Like, you can stay up by doing 1-0s and being strong defensively. You really can do it. I don't think he's had it. Don't think he had that overlapping to make the runs for him like Dan James or Willie would have done. Yeah, this is a really good point by Richie, because I thought the exact same with Brendan Aronson. In fact, it's actually on my notes just here. A lot of times Bogle would have run. He picked the ball because Bogle actually intercepted it quite a few times, and then he ran into the midfield. And then what James or what Nonto would have done is they'd have gone really wide and then come inside for that run in the pacing behind. What Aronson did is he sort of ran inside, but I think that's because fundamentally he's played the whole last season as a number 10, and now you're asking him to play on the right wing. I just didn't get that selection choice at all. I don't know what the benefit was that. I know some people wanted Nonto to start because he's probably probably in terms of football IQ, probably the best of Aronson, Nonto, and James. But I actually wanted James to play because the pacing behind, I think, would have been a threat. And I actually think we saw in moments, I know James ended up going off with an injury, but I think we saw in moments like him winning the ball high up with his good press and then actually creating a thing. I mean, we got a sort of free kick from it that Harrison completely blubbed. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, to an extent. Leeds Live gave Ampadu an 8 out of 10. He didn't do much wrong, but for me, he was a bit quiet. Yeah, but his job, BMG, was just to be defensively disciplined and sit in the 6 and shield the back 4. And as I said, like when we do player ratings for me, Ampadu's going to have a really high score. I don't think he gave the ball away much. I think you'd focus on them players when we sort of give the ball away too much. But I don't think Ampadu gave the ball away too much. I thought the midfield 3, as I said, they don't offer a lot going forward. We know this. Then we're not going to be a load of creators in the midfield. That isn't the team we've got. We've got a load of sort of strong physical players in the midfield. Who are going to stifle the opposition. That is what is going to be the case. And Longstaff and Ampadu and Stack did a really good job with that. Like Fulham never got going today all day. And I watched them against Scum a few weeks back, and they really got going in that second half, and they should have gone and won the game. They didn't do anything like that against Leeds because we've got 3 solid defenders of midfield players who are strong defensive in the midfield who also work the socks off and just close down space so they never get anything going. Like as I said, they're on losing teams, but Longstaff, actually Stack and Tanaka, not Tanaka, Ampadu had good games for me. I agree with Leeds Live that I thought they had good games. This is what I feared this season, being very competitive in games but losing 1-0. Our lack of goal threat is a concern. Hopefully more points to come at home. I completely agree, BMG. This is my exact problem with Leeds. This is my exact problem. If you've watched my channel in any sort of way this season, you'll hear the same thing. We will not lose this. We're not going to lose by losing like 5 and 6s. I know we got beat by Arsenal strong, but that ain't going to happen. We will go down this year if we do go down by not scoring enough goals. I mean, I said it on last night's stream that we did. We will go down because we don't score enough goals. And again today, we never, it's not just the fact we didn't score, I can accept not scoring, it's just the fact we never looked like we were going to score either. That's a main problem for me. That is a huge issue. George Graham got us in mid-table with 0-0s and 1-0 games for a whole season. The football was crap, but I'd take that for a season. Exactly. That is, as I said, I completely agree. I completely agree, BMG. It's all we need to do this year is finish 17th. That is it. I don't care how we play. If we draw every game 0-0 for the rest of the season and stay up by not scoring a goal for the rest of the year, I have no interest. Don't care. I enjoy watching Leeds no matter how we play because I'm fascinated by it because I'm so obsessed with it. So I don't care how we play. It's just, is it going to be sustainable to keeping clean sheets? I don't know. Because teams are so good now in attack and they've got so many tactical plans to break us down. That's my only concern. Fart tactics away from home is the reason he'll never be a top-level manager. I'm still confident, but if we drop below a point a game, Fart needs to go. See, this is what I mean, because PSV yesterday, obviously was talking about Leeds obviously finishing a bit higher in the league. And I think your logic is PSV, that actually the squad's not that bad, and with the way we're playing is too negative. This is where me and you sort of fundamentally disagree, I guess, because my logic is that front line isn't good enough. That is my logic. We don't have enough creativity. We're not going to create enough chances, and fundamentally, we're not going to score enough goals. That has been my whole problem. I think the midfield's strong defensively and disciplined in there. I think they work the socks off. I think we're going to be really bloody hard to beat away from home and at home against basically everybody in the league. Like, if we play anywhere this season, potentially other than Anfield, the Etihad and stuff like that, we can get points and we'll pick up. I think with the way we play, we are going to pick up points, I think, in decent away grounds. I generally think we will. And I think we'll pick up points in decent home grounds as well, and which we've already seen with Newcastle. It's just the lack of goals. But as I said, Everton, over the last few years, have been terrible in terms of scoring goals, but have stayed up on a strong defence. And if we've got a strong defence, we have got something there that we can build on. And I do think we have got something defensively. But I do think obviously the people who are Farke out will jump on it and go, we're just too negative away from home. But as I said, for me, if we open up against Fulham away from home, we'll get picked off. Because you look at the players they brought on, Smith Rowe and Kevin, like we're bringing on Jack Harrison and sort of Dan James, like with the greatest respect, their quality is just better. Like if you put Kevin in the Leeds United team, we probably win today if he starts on the left-hand side. Although I do think Okafor did provide a threat, and I did say actually in my preview. So although we lost, I'm actually quite pleased with my preview because I think I called quite a bit of it in terms of we stifled them, we didn't let them play. The only thing we missed was that lack of creativity in the final third. Another slight concern is that our shooting was poor. When we did get to the chance, other than Longstaff's, maybe we'll improve. I hope so, mate. But I do agree. I don't think, to be fair, though, I don't think we had tons of chances. In all honesty, I don't think we lost today because we missed our chances. I think we lost today fundamentally because we set up for a 0-0, hoping we'd obviously get one on the break. And then we had a fluke moment in the 95th minute that cost us the game. But you could argue, in the same respect, in my opinion, we probably had a fluke moment in the Everton game to win that one. So at times we're going to win games and lose games late on in games, but hopefully sometimes we can win games. The lack of creativity so far suggests that Tanaka perhaps should be a start. I agree. I think we've obviously got Wolves next. I don't think Wolves are quite as good as Fulham, in my personal opinion. I don't think they'll finish as high as Fulham. And I would find a way to get Tanaka back in the team. And potentially, to be honest with you, I know people probably won't like this in the comments, I would potentially be up against drop. I wouldn't be that opposed to dropping Stack. I know he's sort of the golden boy and the golden signing, but actually I think Longstaff has looked better, and I think he's better at doing the dirty work than Stack is. And I don't think Stack's showing enough on the ball to warrant his place over Longstaff in the midfield, in my opinion. So right now, if I'm looking at the game for Wolves, which I don't want to go, it's too far ahead, but I would probably go with Tanaka, Longstaff and Ampadu in the midfield three, because I do think Ampadu, as you said, has got that next level touch, which can potentially open us up a game up. But we have seen this game throughout all of pre-season. Like the Man United game finished 0-0. Villarreal was 1-1. AC Milan was 1-1, and there wasn't loads of chances. The first game, Everton was 1-0. This is how we're going to be, people. This is how we're going to be. Every game's going to be tight. We're not going to get battered loads, and it's just going to be constant 0-0s, 1-0s either way all season, I think. Unless obviously the manager ends up getting sacked, and then it might be a different style. Wolves is another hard game. They were looking for the first win, and we need to win that to give us some confidence back. Yeah, I think it's an absolute must not lose at Wolves, in my opinion. Wolves lost again today, by the way, which is another good thing, because like Sunderland obviously picked up a point, which was frustrating. But in the same breath, as I said, they've now we're still 4 points ahead of Wolves, which is good. That's good. It was good that they lost today. It was good that Sunderland didn't win today, and hopefully Burnley lose to Liverpool tomorrow as well, and we can keep that sort of 1 point gap on them as well, because we've just not been in the bottom three. That's all it is. That lad Kevin showed what a difference a one top player can make. It's exactly right. Like, I mean, I know obviously it was a mistake or a sort of lucky moment or unlucky moment for Gudmundsson, but it comes from him creating someone on the left-hand side, having a great shot, Darlow powering it out, and then obviously the corner comes in and they score. Despite the disappointing, it was encouraging. If we can play that away from home and we can get a few draws and a few narrow wins at home, we show we can do it. Yeah, exactly. As I said, we're not, with the way we're playing, I think this is why PSF is slightly frustrated. With the way we play, we're not going to finish mid-table playing like that, because we won't win enough games to get mid-table. Like, we're not going to be like Bielsa and finish 9th playing like that. It won't happen. But what we do is we've got a structure there that can win enough games to finish 17th for sure. Darlow had a very solid game, by the way, and you're not getting in ahead of him, Scott. Damn it. Yeah, but you're right. I aren't getting it. You are right though. Darlow had a good game. I thought he did well. I thought Darlow did really well. And I said this to you people beforehand. Everyone was really worried about Darlow, and my honest opinion is he's not. He actually made a world-class save, in my opinion, to obviously to stop the Kevin goal going in. But actually, I don't think he was. I thought he did all right. I think he got a good few punches. He's just calm. He's not, as I said, I don't think he's going to make tons of class saves, but he's just not going to let anything in that he should let in my opinion. So he's a benefit. I think he's okay. And actually, I think he's not good with his feet, Darlow, but I think he might be slightly better with his feet than of course Perry. So he's all right. Remember, Scott, I said by 8 games into the season, Pro will become our number 1 striker, because you don't win if you don't win, you don't score. We'll have to be patient and wait for Pro. I just don't think he's the answer. I thought Calvert-Lewin was on absolute scraps today, if I'm being honest. In fact, if I'm Calvert-Lewin's agent, I don't know why he signed for Leeds, because it's just a complete graveyard shift up front for Leeds United. Like, it's just dogged work off the ball constantly, and you're not going to get a lot of service. So I think he will look at that and think, well, I don't know why I signed, but I actually think he did okay. I think he did all right. I don't think Pro's the answer. I'm glad we didn't play Pro. I wouldn't have brought him on before Nmecha anyway. I know he was injured anyway and couldn't make the team, but I wouldn't have played him anyway. I think Calvert-Lewin's a better striker, and I think Nmecha are both better strikers, in my opinion, than Pro. Because Pro, he did all right last year. But PSF, there will be games where Pro can start him, and likely home games versus power teams. Yeah, there will be. But I don't, as I said, for today's game, like BMG says, there isn't. I don't think Perot would have offered any more, in my opinion. I didn't see DCL or Nmecha create anything. Yeah, but the striker's job is also to finish. Like they're not. They don't. It's very hard to do something. It's very hard when the ball goes up long to create something. I didn't even know a moment when they could, like, they were 1-on-1 or anything. I don't know. I think strikers have got to get service. It's up to the creative players to give the strikers service. That, in my opinion, I think it's harsh to say that they didn't create anything. I think that I don't know what they're meant to do. As I said, it's just a graveyard shift up there. It really is. Darlow also makes the right decisions when he has the ball at his feet, even if he's not exactly skillful. Exactly. And he's also got a bit of like a feint. He does this feint thing, doesn't he? And then he sort of knocks it off to one side. But yeah. Anyway, should we get on to some player ratings anyway? And obviously, you guys get involved in the chat like you are now, and we'll go through them together. But we'll start with Darlow in goal. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong, did he, Darlow, today? Like, he generally didn't do anything wrong at all. I'd probably give him as like I'd probably have to give him a 7. I think I'd have to give him a 7. Don't think he made loads of saves, but made a really good save when he had to, with the Kevin shot. Saved a few other things, got a few good punches. I thought it was all right. I think he gets a 7 or an 8 for me. Bogle, off the ball, really good. I thought he was good defensive. I thought he was challenged when Kevin come on, and I thought Kevin probably had his number, but I think Kevin might have had anyone's number. I think he looks that good, Kevin, to be honest with you. He'd probably have to get a 6, I think, for Bogle, because I think he was poor off the ball, in my opinion. Rodon, I think Rodon did okay as well. As I said, I don't think there's tons of bad performances in this performance at all. I don't think there was. So Rodon, again, a 7. I thought he headed out what he needed to. Obviously, sort of left a header in the last minute, which obviously the goal comes from. But I don't think that was particularly his fault, if I'm being totally honest. So I think, again, Rodon a 7. BMG says Darlow should have got an 8. Yeah, I think potentially. I think even an 8.5. Yeah, maybe, because he didn't do anything wrong, did he? He did his job, and that's what I thought we'd see from the end. That's what we did. Bogle, a 6 or a 7. Yeah, I think I'd go a 6. I thought he was bad on the ball, because I also expect a lot from Bogle. I know he's quite good on the ball, and there was he knocked it out of play 3 times. He shouldn't be doing that. He's better than that. Rodon and Strout both 7s. Yeah, I'd give Strout a 7 as well. I thought he was fine. There's a reason he's keeping BR out of the team. He's doing well. And maybe the whole plan was that Strout's going to start with Rodon and BL's going to be the backup when we know, because Strout does pick up injuries. Maybe that was the plan. I thought it was absolutely fine. Yeah, I thought they did fine. I think they're both 7. I agree, BMG. For me, Gudmundsson, it's tricky because obviously he did make a mistake. I think it was a mistake at the end. I think you've got to be on it to stop him doing that. So it'd have to be a 4 because it costs us the game, doesn't it, right at the end. You're saying Gudmundsson was okay until probably a 6. Yeah, but the mistake's so bad in it. No, it's not such a bad mistake. It's just such a crucial moment, right at the death. I probably maybe a 4's harsh, maybe a 5, but I don't think I think he made a few mistakes on the ball as well. I think he made a few mistakes on the ball, in my opinion. I don't think it wasn't. Gudmundsson's played. He was really good against Newcastle, in my opinion. I thought he was really good against Everton. I thought you could argue he was our best player of the 2 games. I don't think he was our best player anywhere near it today, to be honest. Longstaff, 7. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Longstaff I would give a 7. I thought he was absolutely fine in the midfield. As I said, does what he does really well. And actually, to be honest with you, I thought he was probably the better of the 2 between him and Stack. Because as I said, when he's doing he's better at the off-ball duty than Stack is, in my opinion. I think Stack's probably got more quality on the ball, but we're not seeing that from Stack at the moment, in my opinion, because they're almost just doing the same thing. So I would say I think Longstaff deserves his shirt probably more than Stack at the moment, in my opinion. Ampadu 7, yeah, I agree. I thought, as I said, I could even go higher. I don't think we didn't lose the game today because Ampadu had a bad game. He had a good game. He's so disciplined in there as well. And that, if you want a word for Leeds United this year, it is discipline. Like, we're so disciplined defensively. We don't make a load of mistakes. We don't do daft stuff a lot of the time. We're quite safe. We're quite secure. So yeah, I thought Ampadu 7 I can agree with. Stack a 6. Yeah, I agree with that as well. We're agreeing here again, BMG. I do agree. I thought Stack was okay. I thought it was okay. I just think the thing is with Stack is I think he's better than what he's showing on the ball. I think off the ball his work's absolutely fine. But I think the fact that I'm saying he had a similar performance on the ball to Longstaff, when I think he's better than Longstaff on the ball, probably suggests he can do a bit more. Actually, I think there's levels to go with Stack. I'm not criticising him. It's a new signing coming to a new league. It's hard. I'm not saying it isn't, but But yeah, I would give Stack probably a 6 because I think for his ability, he can do more. He can do more on the ball than he has been doing. I think he can be more of a creator. Like the performance we saw against AC Milan from Stack in the midfield. I want to see that Stack back. And even the performance we saw against Everton in the first game, I want to see that Stack back. I don't think we've seen it since a performance like that from Stack, to be honest. Like it's just been, there has been misplaced passes and sort of misplaced touches, which I can understand and that can happen. But he's a player of good quality, Stack, and I think he can do better. That's where I'm at with him. Okafor 7. I don't know on that one. I know he was a threat. He was a threat, and it's hard because the problem with our attack as well is, and this comes to the creation and probably actually the structure of the team is, our danger men pick up the ball far too deep. They pick up the ball, like if you see on Match of the Day, they might talk about this if they talk about Leeds. We're picking up the ball far too deep, in my opinion. So when Okafor gets it, he gets it in his own half, and he's got to run the whole pitch on his own to create a chance. He needs to be getting it where he's one-on-one with Tete, late sort of in their final third, and then you might see something from him. It's very hard to create a chance when you're picking the ball up in your own half and having to run all the way through. That is really, really hard for an attacker. So we do need to find a way, in my opinion, of trying to get our danger players on the ball and receiving the ball in higher up positions, further up the pitch. I think that's massively important because in the current structure, I think we are going to struggle to score because our creators are picking up the ball too deep, and we can slag off the creators all we want and say we haven't got enough creativity, and that's probably true. But we do need to put the ball. We need to let them have the ball up further up the pitch. It's so imperative, in my opinion. Stacks one awful free kick and one rubbish shot, which makes him down a point. Yeah, I think that's fair. When the tactic for the whole game is to concentrate on defending, when the chance comes to break, moves down because of uncertainties in players' minds. Yeah, so do you think then PSV? Because I think I think this is a constructive conversation. Like I understand it if people think that we're going into games too negative. My own thing is that I just think that we just get picked off if we're playing more aggressive. But if people think that the team's at a higher level than I do, then I can accept that as a Daniel Farke criticism for sure, because we are set up we're set up as if we're bad, if that makes sense. We're set up in a sort of way as if we haven't got good attackers going forward. Okafor produced our only real moments of skill, which were very few. Yeah, he did. I don't think he ever he didn't really give any service to DCL, in my opinion. I'd probably give him a 6 because I think it's hard. I've said up front, it's sort of almost like a graveyard shift for DCL. Like we don't create chances for our number 9, and I think we're not creating chances. I think it's a graveyard shift for our wingers as well. It's the way we play. The way we play is so good at stifling teams, but it's also got the knock-on effect that we're just not going to create a lot of chances. And when you've already got a sort of weakness for me in sort of individual quality in the final third, without creating chances on top of that, I think is a problem. And actually, to be honest, one thing that I did think of in the game that's just come back to me now is, I wonder if this is why we struggled getting attackers in. I wonder if it's why we're expecting, because we know when attackers come into the club, they want to have a conversation with the manager about how they're going to operate and how they're going to play in a game. And because of the way we play, I think some attackers will look at that and go, I'd rather play for a team that just offer more going forward than we do. And I do think I think that could potentially have put off players. But although, as I said, I think that's why we needed a bit of a maverick. Like you throw a Paxao on the left-hand side over Okafor, and he might have come up with a moment to win us the game. I agree. PSF, I agree. And what's more, when you get a chance, you panic. Yeah, I just don't think we'd had a lot of chances though. I think we had that moment where there was a bit of a sort of a few passes in a sort of advanced area in the final third slightly, and Okafor sort of went down, couldn't quite get his shot off. But I couldn't say today we had a clear-cut chance to score a goal. I think the best chance we had was a shot from the edge of the box from Longstaff, in my opinion. I think we must keep playing this way, but have more composure and decision making when we get in good openings. Yeah, I think that was more. I don't think we had a lot of transitional moments today. I think against Newcastle, I could completely agree with you. I thought there was a lack of sort of composure in the final third against Newcastle. Like I think we actually had against Newcastle, I think we had a lot of chances to sort of break them down. I didn't think we had that today, if I'm being honest. I don't think we had a lot of times when the ball went up because we played in different style today. Against Newcastle, we just constantly went long over and over again, and we played off the number 9, and that's how we created chances. Today, we actually did try to play through the lines. Like we saw Rodon and Strauch a lot on the ball, and that's because they weren't pressing us, so we did try to play through them. I actually think we're better when we go long and we don't try play through a team, and we go long and we get a knockdown from a DCL or a Nmecha, because then you pick the ball up in such an advanced phase then of the game that if you do pick the ball up there, you can create something. Like I think we were more creative when we go long than we ever play through the lines. To be honest with you, I don't. As I said, if I'm setting up against Leeds United for us not to score right now, I'm setting you up and I'm just making you play through us because I don't think if we try play through a team, I don't think we create out really. We could have done with a Maverick or a box crasher or some kind of. I think we've got box crashers. I think we've got Stack and we've got Longstaff. Like Longstaff nearly scored a goal from almost a box crash in terms of obviously the shot they had that hit the bar. But when that is your only moment to score a goal, I think that has to be a concern. I think it just have to be a concern because the best playing that way, the best you're probably going to get is a 0-0 unless you get some lucky goal from a set piece. Or a corner. But again, 0-0s aren't bad away from home. My only thing with Farke, and I've said this a few times on the channel, I'll bring it up again because I think it's relevant, is that if we are going to play in this way, where we're playing for 0-0s away from home and to win 1-0 at home, if we are playing this way and we're playing pump ball at times, he's Farke. You might as well get your best. I'm not saying we should sack Farke, because I don't think we should, but you might be better getting a manager in who that's his game, that's his thing. Like Dyche, that is what he is. I don't really Dyche. I think that people will obviously a good question mark him coming in. But he is a specialist at doing that thing. He's a specialist at going long, picking up second balls, winning 50-50s, scoring from set pieces. That is his specialist. That is what Dyche is. And if we're going to play that way with Farke, it'd be like trying to get Pep to coach a Dyche style. Like you might as well just have the man to do it himself. So I think that will be the only thing the board might look at some point. That if we are going to play this style, are we better playing with this style? Who's a specialist at this style when we know Farke is more a possession-based manager? I'm not saying we should sack Farke because I don't think we could, and I think it would be unjustified. But I think that could be a question. We did have a couple of times when we attacked. Bogle and Stack both burst forward, and both times they seemed to panic and shoot badly. Yeah, they did. Bogle had a shot that was just daft. But again, I think the shot from Bogle comes because I don't think Aronson makes the right run. And again, he's got to not do the shot anyway, and it was a bit stupid. But as I said, if Aronson makes a better run, like I think James potentially would have done, I think that could have been a better option for us. What else have I written down here? Because I've just been reading off your notes. I haven't really gone into sort of. Oh, we need to finish off these player ratings, by the way, don't we? So yeah, Stack a 6. Aronson, I think it'd have to be a 5. Yeah, I think it'd have to be a 5 for me. He just doesn't offer anything, does he? It's not. He just doesn't offer anything in terms of attacking scenario. Like even the chance he did create for Calvert-Lewin was offside. So yeah, I thought that's probably as good as you're going to get from Aronson as well, which is what the worrying thing is. And Calvert-Lewin, I would probably give him a 5, but I don't think it's his fault because I just don't think he's. What chance did Calvert-Lewin miss today? I know he had a chance, but again, that came from Aronson. Obviously the cross, but he was offside. So what chance did he actually have? So I do think I think it's slightly harsh when people say that, which obviously they will. But yeah, I would give Calvert-Lewin a 5. Nonto hardly played, so you can just get a standard 6. James, wasn't on long enough, I'd give him a standard 6. Harrison, probably a 6 as well. Maybe the cross from the cross. Probably 6. I don't think he did anything good or anything particularly bad. Yeah, and Nmecha probably a 5 again. We just need to find a way, if we're going to play this way, of finding a way to score. That's what we need to do. We have got a discipline here where the way we play, we're disciplined and we don't concede a lot of goals. And we are going to be defensively solid. We've got to find a way of getting the reverse side and getting something going forward. We've got to find a way of doing that. In my opinion, that is going to be the main target for Daniel Farke now. Can we find a way to be defensively solid, but also add something going forward as well? That is going to be the massive question mark for me. Can we find something in the final third to go and win a game like that today? Because we're not far off winning that. The performance isn't that far off. My only thing is that football is like a weighing scale in terms of. It's like a scale. If you go more aggressive and go more attacking, you're more likely to give up chances, and vice versa. And maybe some people like PSF might argue that the balance is slightly wrong at the moment, and we're going too defensive, and therefore we're not scoring enough goals. Like I've got a few mates who support other clubs that think that we're potentially too negative. I'm not sure on that. I think we've got the scale potentially okay. We've just got to make something of the chances somehow, and we've got to capitalise more on like set pieces and stuff. Like our set pieces today again were so bad in my opinion. They were really bad. They're good chances for us to score goals, and to create a chance. Like you don't even have to score directly from the set piece, but you might score from where the ball just bounces around and you end up scoring. When you've got the ball in the box, stuff can happen. But like Gudmundsson's corners were awful in my opinion. Both at the first man when he took two. Stacks were pretty bad. Harrison's free kick was bad. Like it was a lot of bad in terms of our set pieces, and that is a concern, because that's what we brought a set piece coaching to do. But my only issue is we brought a set piece coaching, which is fine, but in the same breath, you've got to have people who've got the individual quality to be able to put a good ball in, and I still look through that 11 and don't think we've got one. Very harsh way to lose that, Scott. Chance creation gets more worrying by the week. It's all good being solid, but it won't be enough if we have nothing going forward. Yeah, to an extent, I agree with you. Yeah, because we've said this. We've said this. A few of my mates said this, and I've said this to my brother. We will not pick a lot of points if we go 1-0 down. At the moment, it's over. It's with the way we're playing, if we go 1-0 down, it's completely over. We're not going to recover points from losing positions. It isn't going to happen, which is a concern. Like this tactical game plan that Farke's got is fine until you go 1-0 down. Because if say Kevin scored earlier or Muniz scored that header, and Muniz scored that header, I don't think Leeds would have had anything to go change the game. I saw one comment about how important it is to get points on the board early whilst there's a buzz for newly promoted teams. Last thing you want to do is get in a rut early on. Wolves is massive now. Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree. Because if you get in a rut, Mark, as you said, then obviously I think that becomes an issue then. And you've got to play off. Like the fans were fantastic again today. It's all I heard all game. We've got to play off that. But part of that as well, a lot of the fans obviously go to home games. So yeah, we've got to sort of make use of that. Sort of with Leicester, once the slide starts, it's a slow and difficult to lift heads back up. Damaging way to lose today as well. Yeah, it was disappointing way to lose. Yeah. I do think we've got more than Leicester had last year though, because Leicester last year did a lot of stuff we don't do. Like they were quite easy to play against. I don't think Leeds United are easy to play against at all. And I think Fulham had 5 shots today. That's all their all game. That is not easy. We're not easy to play against at all. And I think Leicester, all the relegated teams last year, I think Ipswich were easy to play against. I think Southampton were easy to play against. I think Leicester were easy to play against. And they gave up daft goals and then potentially we gave up a daft goal today, but I think what we're showing in terms of a defensive structure is better than all of them teams comfortably, in my opinion. It's just I do think Leicester probably had more individual quality going forward when you look at sort of Fatawu and Buenanotes and El Canusis that they had last year. Like if you put them 3 in the Leeds United team, we stay up for me, definitely. But we don't have them, so. Yeah, as I said, so that is going to be the thing, because that's why I'm constantly sort of like do I criticise Farke for not being aggressive, being too pragmatic, or do I criticise the board for not giving him the tools? Because that's one thing we haven't mentioned so far. The board haven't given him enough in the final third, have they? They haven't given him enough. We said this after the transfer window ended. They didn't give him enough in the final third, did they, at all? And now I'm talking about this, I'm getting more annoyed about it, because Farke said this was going to happen. Farke said we'll be competitive in games, but we won't score enough goals, and we need 2 more bodies in the final third. Add 2 more bodies into the sort of final third today, we might win that game. So he's right, but can he do more with what he's got? And that's going to be his sort of that's going to be his main target now. Can he do more than what he's already doing? I don't know. That's going to be a question. But yeah, that I'm going to sort of wrap it up there. If you are watching now, if you could like the video by dropping a like, subscribe, that would be fantastic. Never nice to do these sort of ones after a loss, if I'm being honest. I much preferred the Everton one. But yeah, glad I could sort of enjoy. And I do feel better actually coming out for it. Bringing on Harrison on every game will ruin us. It's like we've learned nothing. I don't think we lost because of Harrison, mate, to be honest. I don't think we lost because of Harrison. Yeah, I do feel for Farke. Quite simply, he hasn't been backed. Do you think the decision to loan Ramazani looks worse game by game? Harrison was never going to affect the game going forward. Do I think... No, because in terms... We wouldn't have won today because Ramazani's on the pitch, because he wouldn't have been on the pitch. Like, I would argue he might have not even been in the squad today if Daniel... Like, this is the thing with... Ramazani offers Leeds United a lot. Ramazani offers Leeds United a lot. We know this. What he doesn't do, though, is he doesn't offer a lot for a team that's managed by Daniel Farke, because Daniel Farke doesn't want Ramazani. So it's all good saying Ramazani, but you've got to back your manager. That is, you've got to back your manager. The manager doesn't think that Ramazani works for this Leeds United team. He doesn't think that. So you've got to back your manager, and he wasn't going to play. But maybe if we had a different manager in, like say you had a Nuno in charge, maybe he would play Ramazani. I don't know. But this manager will not play Ramazani, which is why we loaned him. And he wouldn't have brought him on today. I'm telling you, he would have stayed sat on the bench. And all it would have been, and this is the reason why, I think this is one of the reasons why the board removed him, to be honest. Because if Ramazani was sat on the bench today, or left out the squad, everyone would be saying, all over social media, why is Ramazani playing? Why is Ramazani not playing? And it would have been a thing, and it would have created problems for Daniel Farke, where every press conference we were talking about Ramazani, and it would have dominated press conferences. It had dominated everyone online. It would have dominated the whole conversation about Leeds United, and we didn't need that distraction at the football club. And it's not Ramazani's fault, but that's why one reason why we got rid of him. I think. Let's be right. Name one Premier League manager who would play 3 players out of position. We didn't lose because of Farke though today, Harry. We didn't lose because of Farke. We honestly didn't. We lost today because the ball comes in the 90th minute. Rodon misses his header and it just hits Gudmundsson and goes into the back of the net. That's why we lost, mate. And who's playing out of position here? Darlow isn't. None of the defenders are playing out of position. None of the midfielders are playing out of position. Only Aronson, really, you could argue, is playing out of position, but I actually think he's been better on the right-hand side. I get what you're saying, Scott, but that just reflects terribly on Farke. Just need to get to Jan and get some attackers in. Yeah, I agree. But as I said, on another day, Longstaff scores and we win the game 1-0, and we're all sort of dancing for his praises. So if we play this way, it's going to be fine margins, and we're going to win some later on by moments, and we're going to lose some, and we're also going to draw some games 0-0. More like Gudmundsson, Amarit. I'm not sure what you mean. Anyway, yeah. Thanks all for watching as always. And if you are new, if you could subscribe and also like the video, that would be fantastic. But yeah, thanks all for watching. Disappointing day for Leeds United. Yeah. Move on to the next one. Wolves is now a massive game, but we know that anyway, if we're being honest. But yeah, thanks all for watching. See you all later. Bye for now.